Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the current Republican impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. It's set to be launched by Kevin McCarthy, who is the current Speaker of the House, obviously a Republican, and we'll be talking about why, in this specific, just briefly, and to be, very transparent here, I don't think that the Republicans are actually going to go through with this. I think when you look at the seats they hold and the positions they're in, I really don't think this is going to go anywhere. And even if they do end up voting to impeach him in the House, even if they can somehow get to the 218 threshold that is necessary, not likely that we're going to see a Senate trial that is taken seriously, because Democrats do hold the majority in the Senate, and I doubt any Democrat would vote to convict. And you need, I think, 66 votes to convict a president or remove him from office. You need 15 of the 51 Democrats to vote to convict Joe Biden, which is just, beyond unlikely. So we'll be talking about that today. And I do want to apologize for the lack of uploads this week. Some, in real life stuff caught up to me, and I love this channel, but I do have other obligations, and, it was just one of those weeks. So that'll happen over the course of this year, but I do want to apologize because I randomly realized I haven't posted in a few days, and I wanted to go back. So with that being said, let's talk about this. So the impeachment inquiry for Joe Biden, just politically, and again, I'm not going to discuss the charges in specific. You can look at those for yourself. You can look at whether or not they're valid, whether or not they are legitimate. That's for you to decide. To be honest, within the realm of this channel, I don't really care. This is an election analysis channel, and so I'll be looking at whether I think this is, electorally, politically the right move for Republicans, and the answer to that is no. I think that this would kind of put them in an awkward position, because right now they're not necessarily on track to win the 2024 election, but they are winning the Biden argument, which is Joe Biden is unpopular. The majority of Americans don't like him, and that's not going to change. So why would they want to, put that in jeopardy by impeaching him, by making him be compared against Republicans, right? Most Americans don't like Joe Biden, but when you compare him with Donald Trump, a lot more will like him. Maybe he goes from 40% to 48%. Maybe he goes to 40% to 51%, right? And so when you give Americans an alternative to someone they don't like, a lot of them are going to move towards the guy they don't like in the first place, just because they dislike the alternative more. So if we see over the course of the next few months, Biden battling with Republicans over whether he's innocent or not, or guilty or not, more Americans are going to come by his side, because they're going to say, hold on, I don't like his job approval, but I hate Republicans. And a lot of, that the majority of America hates Joe Biden. The majority of America also hates Republicans. So I don't know why Republicans would do that. I don't really know why they would even just, talking about the charges, I don't really know how they'd sell at least a plurality or majority of Americans on them. So I don't really think this is the right move for them politically. I think that McCarthy is not making, he's playing 3D chess right now, and he's losing, because all he's really doing is digging himself, even further into the 2024 hole, which is essentially, if he does go through with these impeachment proceedings, and if the House does go through a vote to impeach Biden, whether or not it passes, regardless, that's still bad politically for him, because, again, like I just said, you'll be putting Biden up, contrasting him with Republicans, and that will make more Americans start to view him a bit more favorably. And let's say it fails. Let's say it just fizzles out. He looks weak. He looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. So he's already dug himself into a hole, and he's just digging further into it. So that, to me, is a pretty, that's a pretty big problem for McCarthy, but there's not really any point in going back, because if he rescinds this inquiry, if he just stops right here, he'll be, perceived as weak, like I just said. So they have to go through with this, and whether or not we actually get a vote, again, I don't think we actually will, because I think McCarthy's going to ultimately, assess where he's at. He's already losing. I think he's going to cut his losses. I think he's just going to say, no, we're not going to bring this to a vote. And that kind of brings me to my next point. The Republicans don't have the votes to get this passed, or at least I don't think they do. Of course, in theory they do, because they only need 218 for a majority, and they do have 222. So they could lose 3 of their members, obviously assuming no Democrats vote to convict, which I think is a safe assumption to make. So for Democrats to just keep this out of the House, for them to end this year, they need to get 5 votes. And so that's pretty plausible. I would say I think the first would come probably from Brian Fitzpatrick here in Pennsylvania. This is a Biden seat. And again, this is a Biden seat. He won by 10, so he's a pretty popular incumbent, but this is a pretty liberal district. I'd say it's pretty Democratic leaning at the federal level. So I doubt Fitzpatrick votes to convict. I don't think Mike Lawler would vote to convict either. He is in the 17th district of New York. He won by a half a point against Sean Patrick Maloney. He's probably going to lose in 2024, by the way, if I were to guess. But regardless, he is just one of the more moderate Republicans. I don't see the upside in him voting to convict. I think Anthony Despacito would potentially vote to acquit. I think he is less of a sure thing than Lawler or Brian Fitzpatrick, but he's in a Biden plus 13 seat, or maybe I think even more Biden plus 14, and him putting himself in this position would really, really hurt him. I think Brandon Williams might also. He's the kind of the third New York Republican. Molinaro too. I think one of these two would probably vote to convict, and then the other would vote to acquit. But those are more toss-ups. I think if you go over to more moderate Republicans in states like California, I think David Valadao probably doesn't vote to convict Donald Trump. And he was I think the only surviving member of the Trump impeachment caucus. He was one of the, I think, 11, or the impeachment 11, who voted to impeach Donald Trump back in January of 2021, and I think he's the only one who's still in Congress. Him and Dan Newhouse. Dan Newhouse narrowly survived the primary. So Newhouse, I do think, would vote to convict Biden because he is pretty conservative on most of the issues, but I think Valadao is the last standing Republican congressman who would vote to convict Trump but acquit Biden. So already there, you're kind of in hot water, and there could be some surprises. I think that there's other Biden district Republicans, maybe Mike Garcia, maybe Young Kim, maybe John Duarte, who, maybe Lori Chavez de Raymer. So there's a lot of Biden district Republican. Maybe Don Bacon. You can go on. There's a lot of seats that voted for Biden that have Republican representatives who want to get reelected, and I think that they know that if they vote to convict Biden, that's going to be a problem for them. So that's kind of where I'm at for this right now. I think this would probably narrowly fail in the House, and that would be terrible for Republicans because they control the House, and there's no point in them, launching this impeachment inquiry and then having a vote on it, and then the vote ultimately failing and not even getting to the Senate. So I do think that McCarthy is really playing his cards wrong here. Maybe he knows something I don't. Maybe he has a good reason to be doing this politically. I just don't think he's making the right choice, for his party from an electoral standpoint. So that's why I think that this, potential impeachment battle between Biden and House Republicans is going to backfire on the GOP. Of course, I could be wrong. Of course, I want to see more developments as we get further into this process, but those are my thoughts for now. So again, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next one.